I ask you a question? Are you ready to get and keep momentum in your business? I hope so, because it's Penny Elliott here, your host to having the perfect mix of the woo with the do. If you're ready to create the life that you want through a business designed by you, then tune in. Okay, so welcome to another episode of Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneurs with me, Penny Elliott. This is the show where we match the woo with the do. It's your perfect mix of mindset and strategy to have fast success in your online business so you can finally live that life that you thought you were going to when you started your business. And we're kicking off the podcast with the Hit Refresh on 2020 Summit. And today I have the amazing Kate Erickson, who I personally have met when she came out to sunny New Zealand. I'd like to say sunny because I think one of the days that they wanted to go to Waiheke was less than ideal. And it was great to have her and John come out. And they did a meetup and were so wonderful and really just pulled the doors back on their business. How Kate thought John was crazy going into podcasting and in this whole entrepreneurial world, but really supported him. And then has started to go on that journey herself. And I just really loved how fresh and honest you both were. A lot of the time we see these big figureheads in the online world and we're like, oh, I can't talk to them. And you guys just totally pulled all of that away and we're like, hey, we're here to have a good time and we wanted to meet you all. So I feel very honored to connect with you again and now have you on my new podcast. It's pretty exciting how the things go around. So I'm sure that you've got a formal introduction that you can tell people what you do now and how you are taking the world by storm. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Penny. I love the message and the power and sincerity behind your podcast, what you're doing. So congratulations on the podcast. It's so exciting. And oh my goodness, you just brought back just so many incredible memories of our time together in New Zealand and the meetup that we were able to host. I believe it was downtown Auckland that we did the meetup in. And yeah, it was so amazing being just in, the online connects us in so many different ways, but when you can actually touch down on the ground with people and have like that in person, which was a very intimate setting. We were just at a small cafe when we had that meetup, which created a really amazing atmosphere to be able to spend like real time together. So thanks for bringing that memory back. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. Just a little bit about me. I joined my other half, John Lee Dumas, in his business called Entrepreneurs on Fire about 6 months after he had launched this podcast where he was doing daily interviews with entrepreneurs to help inspire our audience of entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs who are looking to start their own entrepreneurial journey. And about 6 months after he launched, he thought, wow, I'm gaining some momentum. I've got some traction here. I was working in corporate America at the time. And he said, what do you think about joining me on the team so we can, I'm getting all these ideas of like things I want to create for this audience who is just like coming to me with all these incredible questions and struggles. And I really want to help them. And I said, oh, wow, well, that sounds like a really big like leap and a really big step. But what better way to set the example for the message that we have for people that, sometimes that leap is really scary. And most oftentimes you really don't know what's going to happen. But, when you can focus on the goal and when you can focus on what you want for your life and what you want for your legacy and how you want to help people and impact people, when you can put the focus on that, it becomes much easier. And so I did take that leap. I joined John on the team and let's see, 2012. So we're going to be celebrating 8 years this year, which is wild to think.
Yeah, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you're also doing a few things on your own now. You've got your own podcast, don't you?
Yes. So I launched my first podcast in 2014 called Kate's Take, where I was sharing with people behind the scenes of how we run the business. And most recently, I launched another podcast called Ditch Busy to help people with time management and taking back control of their time.
Yeah, because you guys have a planner as part of your like portfolio of products and services that you offer, don't you?
Yes, the for podcasting, we have the podcast journal, which is idea to launch in 50 days. So we really help people with that step by step. You know, jumping into something new can be very stressful because you feel overwhelmed and you don't know what to do first and you don't know what to do next. And so the podcast journal was kind of our way of helping other people who are interested in starting a podcast say, okay, I trust that John and Kate have set me up for success here. I'm just going to follow this journal day by day. And by the end of it, I will have my podcast launched. So we're really excited to come out with that.
How stressless is that, listeners? That sounds fantastic. And talking about your like sort of portfolio of products, I really kind of brings us into this first question that I've asked everyone. You know, with the current environment here in New Zealand, we're really lucky. We are about to come back to normality and pretty much be back to a new normal with our borders completely closed. So you're lucky you came over when you did. So with the current environment that you guys have got at the moment and that you see in the world, I'd love for you to share with the audience how you guys are hitting refresh on 2020, both in your business and in your life.
Yeah, so I think it's an excellent question because, of course, what has happened over the past few months in our world is something that I don't think anyone could have ever anticipated, surely not have understood the level to which we are living at, like you said, a new normal. And we're not there quite yet. I'm very anxious to get there, as I'm sure everyone in this world is. But I think a way that I have hit reset in both my personal and my business life is, you know, I'm sure anyone tuning in their own way has experienced a lot of emotional, just kind of maybe turmoil, if you will, around the unknown and uncertainty and canceling things that are really important to them, potentially experiencing and you know, this just so terrible sick family members or friends and all of this stuff. And it's easy to focus on everything that's going wrong. I know that it's really easy. But how I have hit reset is to refocus on what I can control right now and the positives that I can pull out, the pause that we're in right now that has allowed me to reflect on how I'm spending my time day to day, who I'm spending my time with, how I'm living my life, how I'm running my business, how I'm showing up for myself, for my relationships, for my family, for my friends, for our audience. And again, really taking it back to focusing on what I can control. That has really been my reset. I'm big into mindset stuff. I think it's really important that we're constantly checking in with ourselves on those things. And I think it's really important to remember and recognize and realize and remind ourselves that there's only certain things that we can control, and putting our focus on things that we cannot control does not serve us, and it doesn't serve anybody around us either.
Perfect. I love that. So putting your focus on the things that you can control is going to be the major winner on hitting refresh in 2020. And I loved that right at the beginning of your comment, how you said it's easy to focus on the negative. And I think that's because there is so much of it infiltrating everyone's brains, from the news, from talking to people that are only consuming the news. People like to sound educated by spouting off all these statistics of, you know, deaths and cases and 2 this and 1.5 and all the, you know, and all these different statistics. So, you know, I love that you brought up the fact that mindset is constant, that you need to really put up that or have a self-talk to yourself. You know, I'm hitting refresh by not allowing the 90% of the media that is in front of me to infiltrate me and actually like hunker down in my world of how can I be positive and how can I have that positive impact. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that, because a huge part of understanding like what we can control is a huge part of that is the consumption.
Mm,
So you decide what conversations you partake in, you decide what type of news you consume, you decide all of those things. That's a choice that you get to make. So, that really is a big part of it. So thanks for bringing that up.
yeah, I mean, you can just push that like red button on the remote control for the TV and it turns it off.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Whoa. Yeah. And we can stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you in that, like, knowing what you know now that you've been through that like real emotional journey, and I'm glad that that you've put a spotlight on that. If you, because everyone's talking about bankruptcies and foreclosures and things like that, but no one's really talking about the emotions and the mindset. So I love that you brought that up. So if you could go back to the day before lockdown, and for everyone around the world that's a bit different, but sort of end of Feb, March, what would you have bought or changed in your business knowing what you know now?
Yeah, it's so interesting to think of. And it kind of reminds me of just business as a whole and being an entrepreneur and charting your own ship is like, it's always if we knew then what we knew now, right? And to think and go back, it's like I remember so clearly the day before lockdown happened here in Puerto Rico, where we were out to lunch with a group of friends, and one of our friends was on his cell phone, and he was reading about these orders that were going to go into place at 7 p.m. that night. It was literally like 3:30 in the afternoon. And I mean, maybe we shouldn't have been, but honestly, I was shocked. And to go back to that place in time, now I can say I'm incredibly grateful for the business that John and I have built, for the foundation that we have. And we go back to that a lot when we talk about like building a business and, how important that foundation is. And because of that, we have been very lucky to come through this very difficult time, and what for a lot of people means, their business not doing very well at all. And we've been able to maintain a lot of what we have to offer, from a very virtual standpoint. And I feel very blessed for that. So honestly, going back, I mean, I guess it would just be, I wish I knew then what I knew now, because I probably could have, maybe again, going back to the emotional side of it, I probably could have emotionally prepped myself a lot better for what the next couple of months was going to look like. And a lot of times, honestly, I found myself sitting at my desk thinking, I'm like being centered and incredibly grateful for everything, but like I have so many questions. Like I don't know what I should be focused on right now that things are so different than I thought they were going to be. It's almost like you had mentioned before we even started this interview. It's like you have all these goals and these like structures set up for yourself, and when all of that's taken away, it can kind of be like a panicky feeling almost. So going back and to finally answer your question, I mean, I really just wish that I could have known then that I should have started like planning and prepping then. But, you have to go through almost like that grieving period of like, what's going on right now? How am I going to let myself react to it? And then pull myself back to understanding, like, let's be present and let's focus on what we can control. So yeah, I mean, I guess I really wouldn't change much of anything about our business per se, again, because we've been very incredibly lucky that our business is very steady right now.
Great. Yeah, there's another journal for you.
Yeah, right.
50 days to get through a global pandemic. It's
Oh my goodness.
overwhelm and stress for people.
That would be incredibly helpful.
Day one, just lie at home and just be okay with it.
Right. Oh.
Yeah. So we like to cut through the BS on this podcast and get momentum in our businesses. And like you said, you guys are very lucky, but I don't think it's luck. I think it's a lot of hard work, and I don't mean that by multiple hours. I mean that by like, you know, intensive working on yourselves and creating a phenomenal audience that follows you. So what barrier have you faced in the business that you've had to call BS on yourself that you could share with the listeners that they would learn from?
Yeah, big thing. So I have two. I'll say both of them. And then if you want to dive deeper into one versus the other, one big thing that I've learned over the past several years is that you have to take full responsibility for everything that happens in your business. That was very difficult for me to do. That's a huge responsibility. I mean, to think that that no matter you have contractors, team members, it's just you as a solopreneur, like your business is huge. There's so many different facets and components, and you know, it's unique, and some questions aren't so straightforward, and not everything is black and white. And to take full responsibility for everything that happens is a very big calling. And then I would say it kind of goes hand in hand with that a little bit, for me at least, is confidence. You know, not letting the imposter syndrome hold me back from creating the impact and the content and the message and the podcasts and the blog posts and the emails that I know are going to impact other people, despite in my head thinking like, well, who am I to share this content, or who am I to start a podcast, or who am I to, you know, we all struggle with that on some level. And I've struggled with it on very high levels when I very first got started, and, you know, have been very lucky to continue to work on that and focus on it. But those are definitely two big barriers that I've had to continually knock over on my journey.
Love it. Yeah, I think both of them are huge, as you said. But the responsibility one is definitely something that I've put a focus on after this COVID, is that I'm responsible for how things, you know, roll out in my business. And I guess that comes down to the things that you can control. And even if something happens that feels like it's out of your control, you still have to take the responsibility for how you deal with the outcome. So I love that you brought that up. I think that's and it's quite confronting, isn't it?
Very much so. But I also want to bring light to the fact that it can be incredibly empowering as well. When you do take responsibility and you do rise to that level, you know, it does almost, it opens up like so many growth opportunities, and it's really difficult to do. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely two sides to it, but I really feel like it can be a very empowering thing too, once you do step up to that.
Yeah, definitely. And then the working on the confidence piece is kind of ironic, because at the beginning I said, like, you know, I thought you and John were like these like big shining, like, you know, avatars from the podcast world coming down to little old New Zealand. And I was like, I have to go to that meetup, like I'm never going to be able to meet them in person like this again. And so I'm thinking that, and I want all of you people who are listening and watching this to realize that I'm thinking that. And here's Kate going, oh my God, I have to talk in front of these people. Like, really want to hear from me? Like, what have I got to offer? How crazy is that, right? How, like,
absolutely.
And so I think a lot of the time when you're thinking, you know, hit publish or turn the podcast mic on, or who am I to, you know, to create a meetup or a live event or something, when we're finally allowed to do them. You know, think about the people that are coming to it thinking, wow, I get to meet this person and they're going to help change something in my life, you know. So use that for your files of confidence, that actually they're so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really beautiful way to put it. I mean, we all have people who, as you know, podcasters or bloggers or business owners or, you know, influencers at leadership roles, we do have people who look up to us in those ways. And for you to kind of turn that and think, okay, it's not about me, it's about the people that I'm serving that are following me, who are looking up to me, which has been really helpful for me in those times of like, I'm kind of freaking out. You know, it's not about me, it's about the people that we serve, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, amazing. So what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space?
You know, it's really important to me as someone who came from like a very corporate background, not really understanding that entrepreneurship was an option. Like I thought that there was one way to walk through life. And I thought that that was like a prescribed path that everyone followed. And that's just the way it was. Like I so clearly remember going into my corporate job and being so unhappy and feeling so unfulfilled and just feeling like I wasn't contributing to anything meaningful, all the while just being like, that's life. You have to earn a paycheck because you have to pay your bills and, you know, live for the weekends, hope that your vacation gets approved. And for some people, they are, you know, fully tuned into the corporate world and they love it. And I love that. We need it. But I just didn't know that there was another option. And I hope that through the content that we put out and that through the speaking engagements we have, through the podcasts that we do, I hope that we are bringing that to people who want it and who maybe don't right now understand that they are at full control of how they live their lives and that it doesn't have to be that way if they don't want it to be, that there is another option. So I hope that I will have left that message for a lot of people like me who really want and need it.
Yeah, well, I'd like to tell you that you already are leaving that legacy online because that shines through really strongly, but from a place of compassion, because I think too many people say, leave corporate America. And I loved that you said that for some people, that's actually what they really like and enjoy. And as you said, you know, we do need that as a world. We need that to continue that big engine. But there is an alternative out there. And I love that you've taken that leap and you now are that shining beacon for, especially for women who want to do that as well. You know, I think there's a lot of times it's like corporate America or be a mom, you know, and so it's nice that you can follow a different path and show others that it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you?
So everything that John and I do is over at eofire.com. And I love hearing from people. I love the personal outreach. So I'm happy to share my email, which is kate@eofire.com. If anyone's tuning in and, you know, has a big takeaway from today or just wants to drop a note, I'd love to hear from you. And Penny, thank you so much for inviting me on to have this chat, to reconnect with you and to hopefully provide value for your listeners.
Thank you. It was great. And you guys have got some really excellent resources on your website as well. Is there any one that you would like to direct people to at the moment?
You know, I think right now maybe the Freedom Journal is something that could inspire a lot of people. We created a physical journal that helps you accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. This is through daily prompts, accountability. There's 10-day sprints. There's quarterly reviews to really help you stay focused in one area. It could be in your personal life. It could be in your business. So if you are looking for that accountability and kind of a little more structure and guidance around getting to the accomplishment of your number one goal, thefreedomjournal.com is where you can learn more about that journal.
Excellent. Yeah, I've had a peruse through it, and it can also be used for you know, if you've been listening to this and you thought, really, I haven't really focused on my mindset, I've let, you know, all this stuff overwhelm me. You can also use the Freedom Journal for that, to say, you know, I really want to sit and be present, or I really want to stop negative thoughts coming in, or turn the button off on the TV earlier, you know, anything like that. So it doesn't have to just be the strategy side of your business. It can also be the mindset and the woo side. So
absolutely.
And so then one last little soundbite is, you know, what is your favorite one-liner that when you're not having such a good day and you need to give yourself a bit of a pep talk to get that momentum in your business? How do you give yourself a butt kicking?
Oh man, yeah. You know what? It kind of goes back to, you know, we've talked about it several times throughout our chat, that you get to choose. So anytime I'm thinking like, oh, I'm not really feeling like super motivated right now, or I don't really want to go for that run, or I don't really want to dive into that project because it just seems so massive, I always remind myself it's my choice. And if I am happy with making a choice that I am not going to just like get there and do that, usually that will step me into it, because I'll think, okay, I can make a choice right now to just commit to doing this, and I'm going to feel so much better for it. So just reminding myself, you get to choose. So you're going to step up and choose to do the thing and feel great about your progress and your momentum, or you're going to choose to, do something not so productive. We all have our moments and we need those times, but that's my snap back. You get to choose.
You get to choose. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining me in the summit and one of the first episodes on the podcast. And it's just amazing to reconnect, and I feel really privileged to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny.
Wow, what an amazing episode. Thanks for tuning in. And if you loved the woo with the do and want to dive deeper into how you too can get and keep momentum in your business, then please join us at pennyelliottgroup.com/consistent clients for the live training this month. It's going to be super juicy, as I'm giving you access to the only 3 daily habits and mindset tweaks you need to have consistent clients in your business forevermore. Come and join us.